Can you digitize anime eyes on the Design Doodler? Yes, you can, and today I'm going to show you how I did them. If you've never used the Design Doodler before, make sure you click the link in the description to check out the trial, and if you have it already and you don't know how to use it, then make sure you click this video up here. Let's get started. I'm going to be bringing in the image by clicking this button down here, and here is the image. I'm going to click open. You can see I've already photoshopped a border around it, and I've selected the colors. It's actually white right here, but you can't necessarily see that. I'm going to be using 4 colors to digitize this design. Now I'm going to click on this button so that I can select the image and change the width of it, and under the settings we can see that it's in inches right now, but if you have it in meters or millimeters you can change it from here, but I normally use inches, so I'm going to stick to imperial. We're going to then click the settings right here, the properties, and the width. Well, this is 20 inches, so that's a little bit too long. I'm thinking somewhere around 7 inches so that it could fit nicely on a chest. That's perfect right there. I'm just gonna put it in the center, and let's see, 7 by 3 inches, but in reality it's gonna be more like 2.5 because we're not gonna be doing these colors down here. I can then zoom in by doing a 1 to 1, 1 to 3, and 1 to 6, as well as using the zoom tool, but I think 1 to 1 is a lot faster. Now, although this design looks a little complicated, in reality it's quite easy, and I'm going to show you the step-by-step on how to get it done. I normally like to start by creating the darkest colors or the outlines, which in this case it's the black colors. So you'll see that it's the hairs, the eyebrows, part of the eyes, and all of these tiny little details right here. So that's the first thing we're gonna do. Then I can go on to creating the shadows, which might be these right here, and then we can do the highlights, and at the end we're gonna create the base. Now the reason why we're doing this is because if you create the base first, then you can't necessarily see what you're doing on top of that, and this way you've already created the details first, and so the base becomes very simple. And if you have no clue what I'm talking about when it comes to digitizing, then make sure you check out our Digitizing for Beginners course, link in the description. Let's get started, and the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm simply gonna create a square around this area, just so that I can kind of define the limits of where I want to, create my shapes. I don't want to go a little too overboard. I'm kind of set it in the middle right there, just overlap it where the border is, because I already know where that is going to go. Let me move this a little bit up there, and this is just going to help me define where the limit is, so I don't make any shapes beyond this little area right here. Now in the last video you guys told me that it was a little tough for you to see what I was creating, so no worries. Let's say I'm gonna set this to green, light green, and we're actually gonna change our color to probably, let's say, like a light green. Again, I'm gonna do 1/3 ratio, and well, where can we get started? As always, my goal is to avoid as many jump stitches as possible, and I'm gonna be using a mixture of the single stitch run as well as the steel tool, because you can see that the green line is right here. I already know not to go beyond this area. I will stick above. So let me go back, switch to my free line tool, and let's just start creating some of these nice lines like that. Why am I going and returning? 2 reasons. It'll make this single stitch outline look a little bit more defined, and also, again, my goal is to avoid jump stitches as much as possible. I don't want to trim, because that just causes the machine to take a lot longer to embroider, and you may also be experiencing a lot of issues and errors. So this way your embroidery will be done a lot faster and with less possible errors. Let's keep going this way, and I know that this part right here isn't necessarily touching the bottom, but I'm just going to invent something like that. That looks kind of cool. Let's create the shape right here, and then I'm just going to try and return as accurately as possible, but if I do move a little bit, that's okay, no big deal. All right, let's keep going this way. I'm going to exaggerate these a little bit, and here I can kind of do like that as zigzag. Awesome. Let's do this one. This one looks a little thicker, so I'm even going to do a double one. And you can see that if I hover above the last stitch that I created, there's a little red dot right there. That means that I can continue working on that stitch without creating a new shape. It's still the same shape. Let's go this way, and this one is a little thicker, so I'm going to add a couple of those. And same here, I'm going to do a couple of those. Here there's 1, 2, so I'll just do 1, return. And then here I'm thinking I'm going to do like a solid either like a satin or a tatami, so we're gonna save that for a little bit later. I'm gonna use it as a base to travel all my stitches underneath. Let's go up this way, create this other shape right here. I'm gonna go a couple times back and forth, and let's create this hair. Whoops, I'm imagining things. I thought there was a hair right there. It's just down here. And then let's do a couple of these like so. Awesome. Let's create these lines. Let's do, I don't know, I think because they're a little thicker, I almost want to do like 4 times, so 2 passes in total. But we're gonna find out once I embroider this if it's a little too much or if it could have used a little bit more. This one looks like it could use some extra, so I'm gonna do a little bit like that. And awesome. Let's see, you know what, it kind of looks like at this point we can kind of fill this whole area up with a tatami because that whole part is done. So you know what, let's actually do that. Let's now, where was our last stitch? Right there. Awesome. Let's bring this all the way down here because remember, I'm trying to avoid jumping. So what I'm gonna do is switch to this fill. You can see that it says fill right there. And what we're gonna do is create this shape. So I'm gonna go 1 to 1 and just zoom in a little bit more so I can kind of create the whole shape all at once. And I'm using the green parameter to know where my limit is. So let's go this way. Let's create the shape right here. Nice. Doing my best to create it as straight as possible. Now I don't want it to be horizontal because I already have it in my mind that I want the base to be horizontal. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch the outline to be more of like a 45 angle, and what I'll do is I'm just going to select this shape, but I'm gonna go under the settings and I'm going to click delete to delete all of these extra points because I want this shape to be as straight as possible just on the outside part. Like that. Get rid of all of those extra points. I'm going to select this one right here and I'm going to just modify it a little bit by bringing it in like so. That looks pretty good. And I want the start to start over here. Perfect. And the stop to stop over here at that point. Perfect. Now if we take off the image, it looks something like that, which is great. It looks like we can now start working on the eye, so that's pretty awesome. Let's switch back to the single stitch. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a lot of these tiny details around the eyebrows and then just create a tatami fill for the general area. It's gonna look something like this. Just going back and forth on all of these hairs to give it that texture. We can even fill this one up here already. Let's go back and forth a couple times on this one because it looks pretty thick. And if I wanted to, I could even create that in satin, but I think I'm just gonna stick to doing the single stitch as well as the tatami. I think it looks pretty cool. Let's keep creating these. I'm gonna try to not overdo it too much because it's pretty easy to overdo this. Okay, going back and forth a couple times. Let me see that again though. Okay, so I'm gonna do 1, 2, and that's it. Cool. Let's keep going this way. And let's create these right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that should be pretty good. I'm just going to create this part of the eye, the little eyelashes, going back and forth a couple times. I'm always trying to fill these in as if they were little hairs with a single stitch, which is kind of cool. Going back and forth a couple times just to give it more of that solid look to it. Awesome. Might be overdoing it there a little bit, but again, one of the goals with this, remember that no digitizing is perfect. So even if it doesn't look perfect the first time you stitch this out, now you have a base to know, hey, this is what I can change in the future design. So that's how I feel about every time I digitize. I'm not expecting perfection. I'm expecting experimentation so that I can learn from the designs that I create. Again, I'm just gonna kind of use this edge right here to create some of these effects. Try to not overdo it too much. Something like that looks pretty awesome. I like it. And what we'll do is now let's hop into the details of the eye. We'll leave this area like that. I did 2 passes. So I'm going to try to remember to do 2 passes on the other side. This one is a little different because it has more of like a lot of these little things. So I think I'm going to do something like that instead. And I think as an effect, I'm almost going to just go up and down a lot like that. That looks kind of cool, I think. And then we'll probably do another base on top. But we'll see for now because I don't really know 100%. You know what? Let's just leave it off like that instead. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch again to my fill. And I'm going to create a cool fill like this. Awesome. Again, I don't want anything that I create to go horizontally because that's the way that the base is going to go. So I'm just going to switch this to go vertically like that. And where is it starting? Where is it ending? I want it to start around here. That's fine. And I want it to end there. That's perfect. Now let's create the second one. And I'm just going around. I am going to overlap that just a little bit so that there's no space. But I don't want to do it too much. And this one, again, it's horizontal, but I don't want this horizontally. I kind of want this more like that. And for this one, well, you know what? We'll leave it like that for now, but there are effects that we can add. That's awesome into this doodler because you can add more of like a rough looking texture as opposed to just like a normal looking tatami. So I'm looking forward to changing that. I'm just going to select the start, which was there, and then the stop, which is there. Let's create the rest of the eyebrow now that we added some of those effects. Awesome. Perfect. Change the outline to go like this. Perfect. And then we can change the start, which was there, and the stop right there. That's looking pretty cool. Awesome. And since we stop right here, let's create a couple more of these. Great. Let's take off the image. We can see what that looks like. And that definitely looks like an anime eye. I really like the way it looks so far. I think it's pretty clean. So let's keep going with the rest of the design. You can see I've yet to jump or trim or anything. Like, we are still working under that same stitch, which is really awesome because, again, this is going to avoid us having like to spend extra time embroidering this design and any potential issues that your machine might encounter. These long hairs are really making me have to use a steady hand. Oh boy. But then again, they're hair, so it's okay. There you go. Looks pretty cool. And let's create these really, really long ones. Might as well go all the way up and down. Like so. Awesome. I mean, we're already in the eyebrows, so we might as well create the rest of it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's create this effect just like we did with the other one. This anime character is definitely angry. It's angry because their digitizing program wasn't allowing them to create it the way they wanted it. But it's okay because now we're gonna do it justice. So maybe she won't be angry after this. I feel like I should focus on one thing, but at the same time I just kind of want to go all over the place. But no, let's finish this nice eyebrow, especially because it's not touching the eye whatsoever, so we might as well. And I'm gonna stop there. Then I'm gonna grab the fill tool and fill up this area like we've been doing with the other ones. Perfect. Oh, maybe I could add a little bit more thickness, because otherwise this eyebrow is gonna be looking a little weird. So let's move that. And wow, that's actually really cool. I want it to be a little bit more this way, and we want the start and stop. I want it to start there, and I want it to stop right there. Perfect. Switch back to the single stitch, and now we can move over here. Let's create these tiny little details, which aren't 100% necessary because it is the corner. So ultimately the border that I'm gonna create might just get rid of it, but you know what? It's okay to keep it for now because those are really cool little details of the hair anyways. Just add more texture, more to these right here. Awesome. And now we're onto the second eye. Wow, this one looks a lot more detailed. I like the way it looks. So I'm almost gonna try and create like a spiky look to these eyelashes because that's the way they look. So I'm bringing them in closer like so. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. So let's keep going. And here, what I'll do is I'll just continue these areas right here, do a couple. Perfect. Just that I don't have to go back, and I feel like a line may not necessarily look the best going back right there. Awesome. Let's go create this outline right here. Cool. I'm gonna skip doing all of these tiny little details just because, you know, the blood vessels on eyes really scare me, so I'm just going to avoid those. Let's see, let's keep going. Create all of these tiny little effects, and I guess we can now go and create the eye. I'm gonna do one pass, then create these like so. We can fill this in. Awesome. Now let's do these. Cool. And just like we did with the other one, we're gonna switch to the fill, and on the fill we're going to create that cool fill like that. Again, remember to change the path like this, and to avoid jumping I'm going to click here so that we don't trim anything. So start, and that's fine. And can we do the rest of the eyebrow yet? No, I don't think so. Or sorry, I mean the eyelash. Let's just add these last couple like little hairs here so that it looks even cooler before we add the rest of it. I think that's pretty good. That looks nice. Okay, awesome. So now we can fill it. But before I fill it, I'm going to grab this, bring it to the beginning so that the fill starts here and it ends on the other side. Cool, like that. Awesome. Again, I don't want this to be horizontal, so I'm going to kind of switch it up, maybe like this. What do I have this one like? Let's see. Like that. No, I'm probably gonna switch it this way now. Ooh, no, the way I had it before was better. Yeah, like that. Okay, fine. So for this side, you're gonna go like this too. Yep, sounds good. Now, obviously, I don't want this to be trimming over here. I want this to continue. So let's bring it as much as we can to the end. It's okay if we add one extra right there. No problem. This line is very thin, so I'll just add a couple of those just for the purposes of avoiding jump stitches. Jump stitches, my nemesis. Maybe that's why this character is so mad, because she probably had so many jump stitches in their design. Okay, let me just move this one right here, make it a little bit thicker, like so. And let's select 1-to-1. Oh boy, what does this look like? Let's take out this color. Wow, That's looking pretty cool. Now what we can do is grab everything and we're gonna switch this to black. But before I do that, let me just go under here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this border that I've created. You see this is the black one, which is trimming right here, but I don't want that to trim there. I want that to end where the next color starts. So I'm going to select it and I'm going to click start and I'm going to click end, and that should avoid any trimming because I'm going to make both of these the same color now. So going to black, switch it to black, and wow, that's looking really cool. You can see it started here. It will do everything. Let's actually check that out. We're gonna view slow redraw. Yup, that's looking really cool. Now you have basically a manga panel if you were to add a border around it, but that'd be a little too simple for us, so let's create the colors that we want. Okay, so we have the black color now checked. Let's take care of the second darkest color, which will be the dark brown. Again, I'm gonna select a color that's a little bit different. Maybe we'll go with, again, another green or something like that to make it easier for us to see. And again, we can go 1/3, with my goal being to avoid any jump stitches. Although there's a lot more things that are spaced out, I believe there's still a possibility for us to create all of this without there being any jump stitches. We're gonna follow the same effects that we've been doing so far, so let's get started. Down there, we might as well do that. Again, I'm just gonna start creating these little effects. And I feel like for this, I'm gonna break the rules a little bit where I feel like I don't necessarily have to follow them 100%, you know, do 2 passes or anything like that. I want this to almost feel a little bit more sketch, more of like a freestyle. So let me go here, go to that end. And for this one, what we're gonna do is break the mold a little bit. I'm gonna click the fill and I'm just going to, whoops, let me just do that properly. I'm going to create this fill like so. Finish it there, go all the way around here and go there. Perfect. You know what, to make it easier on me, because it's actually, I'm finding it a little bit hard to see all of the black colors, I'm gonna switch that to maybe like a pink. Yeah, I'll switch to pink so it's easier for you guys to see where I've already created stuff as well. Now obviously I'm not gonna be leaving this shape like this. We're gonna be adding some effects to it in a second, but I'm gonna change the angle of it, and I want it to start here. Awesome, but I do want it to end here. Perfect. Let's switch 1 to 1, and what I'll do is I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit like that. Cool. Let's create the next one. What color am I using? I'm going to use, no, I don't want pink. So what color do I want? Leaf green. Cool. Let's create this next shape right here, and I'm just gonna ever so slightly overlap over the last shape, which is the black one, because the black is going to be on top. I don't want to overdo it too much. Let's grab this one as well, and we can go like that. Perfect. Now where do I want it to start and stop? Let's select this one real quick. I want it to start and stop there. That's okay, that's no problem. And again, I'm gonna start my single stitch and bring it around here. Now for this area, I think I'm gonna be doing a little bit mix of like a tatami as well as a single stitch. Let's add some of this awesome effects right here by doing a bunch of these. This is the awesome thing about the Doodler. I love that I can just freehand this. Like when I used to digitize using a mouse, that was the toughest thing ever, is the fact that I had to click, 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 click instead of just being able to draw what I wanted right away. So this is a game changer for me. This one, we're going to switch it to around there. Awesome. And what we can do is we can do start and stop around there. Awesome. Let's keep going. You know what? Instead of just going there, let's add all of these tiny little effects that are right here. I feel like it's going to add even more depth to the design. So let's add a couple of these awesome effects. Yeah, that looks awesome. Maybe return a couple of those. Nice. Cool. And again, let's do the same thing down here. We're gonna switch to the fill. And I'm just roughly gonna be recreating this shape right here. Overlapping a little bit, just like that. And for this one, we're gonna switch it this way. Now, where is it starting? Where is it stopping? Let's find out. It starts here, and I want it to stop up there. Cool. Let's use the single stitch to connect this area because I don't want anything to be jumping. And again, let's create this part right here. I don't necessarily need it to overlap so much. Cool. That's great. Let's again move this. And what I'm going to do is just move these a little bit without selecting anything. I'm going to click on the properties and I'm going to select delete. I'm going to select the shape and then I'm going to press delete to delete all of these extra points so that it's easier for me to make that sharp angle. Switch back to select. Awesome. That's pretty good. Start and stop. Let's go down that way. Awesome. Switch to my single stitch. You know what? Let's actually make the shape right here. Looks like it's part of the design. Awesome. We'll make this one go like that. That's kind of cool. Let's see, start and stop. Keep going. There is one shape right here that I feel like we could just kind of create in the dark brown instead of red. You know, a couple of dark little hairs or possibly even a shadow. I don't know how you guys feel about that one. We'll then click fill. Just fill this area up. Cool. And this one, I kind of wanted to go like this. Perfect. Again, I'm trying to connect everything because the last thing I want is to be jumping all over the place. Just go back a little bit. Like that. Awesome. Up and down. Cool. And you can see it's pretty much just filling a bunch of shapes. You can play around, add some shadows. That's the beauty of this, is it doesn't have to be like perfect. I really like the way that looks. And we can create this shadow part right here. Awesome. I'm going to move this one, something like that. Perfect. And let's keep going. Let's create the shape right here. Cool. Change the angle of this one, something like that. Awesome. And I think what else? I guess we can add some details onto the eye without doing the fill. Let's just add a couple of these extra ones. Looks nice. Cool. Let's go all the way around. Oh no, the blood vessels. I can't look at them. They're too scary. She's too angry, guys. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And let's, create just this right here like that. Awesome. Go back one more time. I did miss this part, but no problem because I can just fill that in. Cool. And before I even fill in the rest, let me just add this as a dark red. I should have done it in black, but I totally forgot. But you know what? No worries, because we can just do this with a dark red. There's the scissors here that I don't really know what's happening there, so I think I'm just going to have to accept that I will not find it for now, but we shall keep going. It doesn't seem like it's from the green color or the dark brown. It seems like it's from the previous one that I just went unnoticed. So I should watch out a little bit more for stuff like that, but no big deal. All right. And again, I'm just gonna go and use the eyebrow because remember that this color is gonna go on top. I'm gonna go around this area, just add these last little effects right here. Coming a little more free-handed with the whole area to add those last little effects. Let's see, anything down there? I'm gonna find out. Maybe we can add a couple more here. And we can even add a couple here, imaginary ones. That's okay. And finish the last here. Cool. Now again, 1-to-1. That is looking very interesting, isn't it? It doesn't necessarily look great, but I'm going to show you what I had in mind this whole time. Now I'm going to share with you how to create more of that shadowy effect that you'd have from the dark brown. And that is that I'm going to take every single one of these tatami fills, and what I'm going to do is click on the properties, and I'm going to click travel on edge. This is going to set the density to 1.2 millimeters, which you can see it adds more of a shadow style look. Let me move this around so you can see. And I think this is the look that I want to go for. So again, I'm just going to select every single tatami shape that I've created. I'm going to click travel on edge, select this one, travel on edge, select this one, click travel on edge. And we're going to do that for every single one of the shapes. Let's move around, see if there's any others. Nope. This one right here. Travel on edge, travel on edge, travel on edge. It's just setting the density to 1.2, which to me is perfect because I think that's what's going to give it that shadow style outline look to it. So I think that's pretty much it. Now let's go back to 1-to-1, and it looks a little less dense, which again, that is my goal because I don't want this design to be bulletproof. So to avoid that, I'm just setting it to travel on edge and 1.2 millimeter spacing. So the last thing that we're gonna do, and I'm gonna show you what this looks like now, because we worked with the dark brown on top, I'm going to bring that down so that it's behind the black, and let's just show you really quick what that would look like. So again, this would probably be something like a dark brown. Let's see, dark brown. That's the red. Let's maybe put it to this one right here. Is that too dark? Yeah, that's a little too dark, so it might be hard to see. Let's just put it for this one right now. And this, we're going to switch to black. Again, switch to black. Look at that. Take off the image, and you can see those are the shadows that I was going for. It isn't necessarily going to be too dense, and it just looks really, really cool. So now you're wondering, should I then create the red and use the base? Not yet, because the last thing we're gonna do is create the highlights, and there aren't that many. It's mostly just gonna be around these eyes, so that's gonna be something that's gonna be super quick. So let's take care of those. What I'm gonna do is, for this step, I'm going to create both. I'm going to lock them, and I'm going to hide them so I cannot see them, because we're just working inside here. I'm going to now grab, let's say, another color. Why don't we choose yellow for now, and go inside the eyes. So 1/3. Let me move to this eye right here, and using the single run is fine. I'm just going to sketch out this area like so. Add a little bit of details right here. That looks cool. I think that's good enough. Awesome. And then let's go to the other eye, and let's add these details right here. Actually, that will go underneath the black, so you won't even see that. Perfect. I think that's good enough. 1-to-1. That's all I needed for the white. So now I'm going to go to my layers down here, select my layers, and I can make these appear again. Looks awesome. I'm going to grab this yellow one, and I'm going to switch it to white. Awesome. That looks really cool. If anything, what we can do, because there's like some black color right there, I'm going to grab the black, and I'm going to bring it all the way down. That way the white is going to be underneath the black outline. Great. And that's it for the highlights. That was really fast, super quick. So now let's do the last step, and that is going to be to add the base. For the base, we're going to do something very simple. We're going to grab the fill tool, and we're going to switch it to a square. For the square, I'm going to might as well select the red, and we're going to create a square. Perfect. Awesome. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to select the square. I'm going to disable 3D because otherwise this might take a little long. So let me just disable that to make it easier. I'm going to move around with the square. I'm going to edit it and bring this down. And I'm going to move down here, grab this and move it up like that. Now you're asking, Ken, why is it that you're leaving a really big gap down here? Well, if you know anything about pull compensation, you know that this will get filled up. And if you don't know what pull compensation is, then make sure to click the link in the description to check out our digitizing cheat sheet. Looking cool, looking dapper. Before we move it to the back, let's grab again the red square or rectangle at this point. Density 0.4, stitch length perfect, traveling route perfect. But what I want to do is I want to add a contour so that it does an edge run as well as a perpendicular. But the problem with the perpendicular is that the density is at 2 right now. I don't think it needs to be 2, so I think I'm going to set it to 4. 4 is perfect, so that's the density for the perpendicular now. Awesome. Now what we can do is go back to our layers. The red is already selected, so I'm just gonna bring it all the way back. Let's see what that looks like. Enable the 3D. Whoa, that's looking pretty cool. I feel like the only thing that's tripping me off right now about this design is the amber red right now because it's looking a little too pink. So what I'm gonna do is try the 26 and see what that looks like. Cool. Wow, that looks very dark, super mysterious. And the last thing that we're gonna do now is replicate that box. We're gonna replicate the square, but instead of doing it with a fill, we're gonna do a steel. So again, I'm going to create that square. I'm going to enable the image just so that I can match it as best as possible to the image. That square is not looking very horizontal, so let me just delete it and create another one really quick. And I'll set it to 4 millimeters as well. Just gonna select that middle. That looks really good. Awesome. And we can move the square around, or the rectangle, down this way. And grab this one right here. And we can move it up. Awesome. Now for this square, now let me just enable 3D so that I can see what that looks like. I'm just going to grab the red one and bring it up just so it touches the edge of the brown square that's there right now. Grab the rectangle because it's a rectangle. Let's set it to 5 millimeters width. The density at 0.4 is perfect. And we're going to add a zigzag as well as a contour. I think that'd be really good. And just so that we can change the color of the square in the future, we can probably make it something like yellow. I gotta say, this looks pretty good. I'm really excited to see what this is gonna look like when we stitch it out. But before we do that, let's check out our slow redraw and see how the design looks. So you can see it's going to create, you could say like a perimeter base. Everything is horizontal, so it's perfect. Then it's going to create the shadows, all of those shadows that we created, which is the dark brown. Then it's going to create the white highlights of the eyes, and then it's going to do the black outline in the end. And the border around it. Awesome. I am so stoked. This design is currently 7 inches by 2.37 inches at 34,000 stitches. Now the last thing, I just want to make sure that if I go under settings, that the center design start stop is enabled and this design is ready to be embroidered. I'm gonna go put this design in the machine and I'll see you when it's done. And here is the end result of the first doodled anime eyes. I don't know, I would love to know if you guys have made something like this before on the Design Doodler. Now, of course, there are some things that we can always improve, and I found out where the jump stitch happened, and I just forgot to continue that run stitch, but that's okay, it still looks amazing. Something else we could fix is just the spacing down here with the red and the black, and you can fix this by adding a perpendicular zigzag stitch. Overall, I'm super happy with the result, and now it makes me want to try different anime styles. So if you guys are interested in seeing more designs like this, make sure to comment down below that you want to see them, as well as check out the Design Doodler link in the description. In the meantime, watch this video next, and I'll see you guys on the next embroidery tutorial. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.